Okay, this is a very, very special type of video. This is kind of the rules that I go through with all of my students to prepare them for the real estate exam. So this is something that I've been wanting to share for a while. So let's go through this. This is 4 very, very, very simple rules that I'm going to go through. I'm going to explain to you so that it could help you pass your real estate exam. You could probably use this for other exams as well. However, the real estate exam more so than anything else, because that's really where I'm going to gear this towards. So rule number 1. Don't read the chapter first. Why is that important? Well, you really don't know the words that they're using, and this is dry, boring material, okay? I try to make it as interesting as possible. However, if you are reading the chapter first, you're doing yourself an injustice, because what happens is you are reading something where they're utilizing words that you simply do not understand. If you do not know a language, such as Spanish, Italian, English, and then you see words in there that you don't understand, you're basically reading gibberish, okay? There is absolutely nothing that you can gain from reading the chapter first. You really need to read, you need to do one of 2 things before you read the chapter. 1, you need to listen to a lecture of some sort. Kind of have it summarized to you, kind of get a little familiar with some of those words, okay? Number 2, watch or write down some of the key terms in that chapter. I think the key terms are really super important, because if you start understanding what the key terms are, then when you see them put into a sentence, you see them used in a paragraph, it makes sense. You will not retain information if you do not understand what you are reading. And this goes with the test too. This is why I really do emphasize flashcards. You'll see that as one of my rules. I emphasize understanding key terms, because no matter how wonky, weird, crazy, insane they word the question, you'll understand it based on your knowledge of the key terms in the context of the question, if that makes sense. Let's go to rule number 2. Read each question twice and read every answer. Oh my gosh, I cannot stress this enough. I'm going to tell you a story. I took recently an appraisal course. This appraisal course was real estate information. I'm super knowledgeable on real estate. I should have no problem. I should be able to pass this test with my hands tied behind my back, blindfolded, and drunk off my behind. Now I failed the in-class test. Why did I fail the in-class test? I actually went up to the teacher and I was so mad. I said, "This is impossible." And she looked at me and she laughed and she said, "It's entirely possible." So I said, "Fine, let's go through some of the questions that I got wrong." And she would read the first question. She read it slowly, and she read the entire question. Now, if you have a grotesque knowledge of real estate, or you're super prepared for the test, and you just read 1 or 2 sentences out of a 4-sentence question, what's going to happen is you're going to sit there and jump to a conclusion as to what they're asking you. Allow the context to be fully understood. Slow it down. Slow it down, because you need to. Because what happened with me and why I failed that appraisal test was I had too much knowledge. I thought I knew where they were going with the question. And here's the thing. The answer to where I thought they were going was one of the options. They do give you some really tricky answers too. So you really need to read each question twice. If you're still not understanding it after that, I suggest you go back. That's actually one of my rules. Rule number 3. Don't sweat the math. Seriously. Math. Everyone tries to sit down. Oh, my God. They always say, math is going to get me. Math is going to get me. Most of the people that I teach to take the real estate exam are adults. With that being said, most of the adults that I teach have not taken a class or done rudimentary math in a very, 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 very long time. What does that mean? That means you have a way that you are going to approach a math question. It's the reason why teachers right now are struggling with Common Core. It's not that the students struggle with it. It's funny. students don't struggle with Common Core. If you actually read up on it, the people that struggle with it are the parents that the kids take their questions home to, and they say, how do you do this? And what happens is they tackle it and approach it the way that they would approach it. And the student is approaching it the way that they learned because they don't know your way. Okay, so to them, just as foreign as Common Core is to people who learned math back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. The way to do a simple multiplication problem, we approach it this way, whereas opposed to Common Core children are taught to approach it this way. So you have two competing ways of approaching things. Now, I could give you all these wonderful math things and do all this kind of stuff right now on the national portion of the math exam, because the national portion is really what we're going to be talking about. I mean, if you're talking specific to New Jersey, there is no state questions that they're going to ask you with math, because real estate math is real estate math. You'll probably get an amortization table. Hey, if you want to get your one question on amortization table right and you want to wrap your brain around it 45 times, go ahead. I think there are easier questions for you to get. I only need to shove 77% of information into your head and make you get it. I think that math is really, you're going to approach every math question the way that you're going to approach every math question from here to Timbuktu. So don't sweat it. There's a percentage of them that are going to be really easy for you. There's a percentage of them that are going to be really hard. This isn't a math test. This is a test to really understand. If you understand, it's a reading comprehension test. It's a test to really see if in context you understand these terms, this terminology, and you could apply what you should and should not be doing. I mean, that's really what the test is. It's like, hey, you're going to be licensed to do this. Do you understand this scenario? And do you understand what this is? And do you understand if you can or cannot do it, or what that is? Because you're going to be advising people. You're going to be, helping people along with a transaction that involves a lot of money, involves a lot of risk. You shouldn't be giving legal advice, but at the same token, they want to make sure that you have a foundation to go off of, that people could use you in a real estate transaction and not be misguided. So don't sweat the math. Like I said, if you're really trying to get 100% of your math questions right, you are wasting time. You are wasting time, because I could almost guarantee you I cannot reprogram your brain, and no teacher can reprogram your brain when it comes to math. So please do not sweat math. Rule number 4. Flashcards. I think I've been building up to this. This has been my epic moment. Flashcards. Understand the terms out of context. This is a language. More words you know, the more when it's used in a sentence, you could kind of sit there and go, oh, I know that word. I know what that is. And then when you see them in the answers, you go, I know that answer. I know what that is. So please, use your flashcards. Use your flashcards wisely, okay? Flashcards are going to be your best friend. This is going to help you. Here's what I will tell you. In my 10 years of teaching, I never learned the real, hardcore definitions. I never memorized the hardcore definitions. I mean the ones that you could literally take out of the glossary, okay? I always remembered my version of it. And there are some people that will argue with me. There are some instructors that will sit there and think that I'm, some sort of wackadoo and I'm not teaching it the right way. I digress. I have an awesome pass rate. I think that I'm one of, I'm kind of puffing myself up a little bit. I'm one of the best teachers in New Jersey. No exaggeration in regards to that. And my numbers speak for themselves. I will not tote anything, along those lines, but my numbers speak for themselves. But I have a lot of people that I hold in high regards that I think are absolutely better than me. And those people are absolutely phenomenal, but I digress. I want to tell you a little bit about flashcards and the importance of them. Again, real estate is a language. You understand the words and what they mean in your own way. You don't have to be perfect when you're listening to my key terms videos. You don't have to get it exactly right, but you just need to remember it in a way that it makes sense for you, and you could apply that knowledge to a question or to a situation. And that's really it. I've seen people take practice exams and everything, and that's not the key to victory. Taking multiple choice questions is not the key to victory. The key to victory is really understanding the terminology outside of context. Because here's the thing, I have heard a lot of the practice exams and things like that, sometimes they're not exactly anywhere close to what you would get on the test. So a lot of people say, hey, that was great. That wasn't so great. So here, save your money. Save your money and use flashcards. Go down to Staples, okay? Get your flashcards and, really run those ragged. Understand the terms out of context, because then no matter what question they ask you, if they ask you a question on procuring cause, on agency, you'll know what those things are. You'll say, I know that word. And then you'll be able to get the answer correct, or at least be able to understand what they're asking you. So I would say do not spend your money on any of those practice exams. They're malarkey. Do not spend your money on flashcards that some people sell. There's some that are absolutely awful out there. Barron's, yeah, I'll call them right out. Barron flashcards, like $50. Don't buy them at all. They're I don't think that they're good in any manner, shape, or form. I really think that creating your own flashcards has some inherent benefits, and that's really it. Rule number 5, I actually numbered it as rule number 4. Again, skip the question if you don't know it, or if the answer has numbers. I find that people's key to math success is actually doing these things all in the same kind of grouping. If you're kind of getting to math mode, you put that cape on, I think that you get a lot further than anything else. So again, skip the question if you don't know it. Don't answer it, okay? Because there have been studies, there are teachers that will tell you if you answer the question and then you come back to it and you change your answer, and most of the time that first answer was the right one. So I'd rather you not answer it. Skip it. If you don't know it, skip it. Whenever I take a test, that's exactly how I approach it. I skip the question. I didn't do that in my appraisal exam, so kind of take my do as I say and not as I do. I learned a lot from doing that, though, from actually going against all of my kind of rules. I learned a lot about how important my rules are. And here's the thing, you will have enough time. I've never had a student run out of time. I never have. And here's the thing, if you do have learning disabilities or anything like that, every single state has accommodations that they can make for you. So if you do have a learning disability and standardized tests are difficult for you, you have ADHD, or there's something that prevents you from really succeeding in standardized tests, please ask your instructor, or also contact your state governing body in regards to taking the exam. I think that every single state offers some sort of help, assistance, things like that. So don't try to struggle through it if it's something that is extremely difficult for you and there's actually learning disabilities that you have that prevent you from that, because you might be a very successful real estate professional, and the lack of being able to take that exam should not preclude you from practicing in our wonderful, amazing industry. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.